Food and drink is a really important part of the visitor experience. We've recognised for some time that if we really need to grow the value of tourism and the volume of visitors that come, we need to develop Cumbria as a bit of a foodie paradise.
Welcome to the Taste Cumbria Food Summit and welcome to the wonderful Redhead Centre.
Well, I think there's a sort of tendency to think that Cumbria is just a place of wonderful landscape, of hills, valleys, lakes and so on. And in fact, nestling in among that beautifully broken up countryside are some wonderful food producers that I've just been discovering all my life. I mean, I could take you on a little personal tour. But and I think that the quality of these foods is sort of defined partly by the nature of the landscape, but also by Cumbria's own particular history. And this has produced really a very particular kind of food culture with some very remarkable products that personally I've become addicted to over the years.
Shaw Meat's been going for about 11 years now, but focusing more on salami now because it's something different, something unique, something that Cumbria is not recognised for really. And our business is all about being different, not being the norm really.
So how do Cumbrians take to things like chorizo?
Really well. I mean, say over the last 2 or 3 years, the amount of cooking programmes and everything that's been on the telly, and all the top chefs use chorizo and everything like that, and people can't buy it apart from in the supermarket, and they can't buy a British one. I mean, so we've been doing the chorizo now 7 years, way before anybody else started doing it. I think there's 1 or 2 companies now actually jumping on the bandwagon and starting to do it, but they're way behind. We can do it a lot better and a lot faster, especially in Cumbria.
Well, the business is 38 years old and it was started by my father, who's a sheep and beef farmer, when the M6 was actually built through his farmland at T-Bay. So they had the opportunity to build a very small motorway service area on their land at the time, and no one else was really interested in doing that. So that's exactly what they did. And over the years we've grown incrementally and got bigger. We now have 4 businesses and we employ 500 people, but the values are still very much as they always were, and that is that we are absolutely part of the farm from which we grew, and all the lamb and beef that we sell within the business comes from our own farm. We have farm shops, we locally source, we home make on site. So there's a sort of family cottage industry approach where in each one of our businesses we want to create a sort of sense of place and a sense that we are Cumbrian, and part of our job is to celebrate that and everything that's here.
I came to Cumbria today because I was asked to give the critic's view, such that it is, of how Cumbrian restaurants can project themselves. And what I really wanted to say is that in a fast expanding food economy, you need to find distinctiveness, you need to find a story. You need to pander to what journalists need, which is a narrative and something to hang on. And that means that local seasonal organic is not going to do it. Just putting that on your menu is not enough. Look around, work out what it is that can give you a Cumbrian accent and can attract people from all over the country, and particularly I have to say from London, because it's the greatest concentration of wealth in this country, and that's where your business is most likely to come from.
I mean, you ask many restaurateurs, hoteliers, and the first thing they tell you is everything's locally sourced and it's as organic as it can be. Now, is that becoming a bit worn?
There are 2 things to say. One, it's a platitude. If you're not doing some of those basic things, then I'm not sure why you're in business. What's the alternative? That you're getting it out of the freezer, or you're getting it from the local supermarket. Sure, you're looking for the best produce. But it also has to be said, we've reached a point of maturity where it may not be the case that the most local ingredient actually is the best. And the best way to improve a food economy is by not patronising businesses which are not deserving of your trade. Be discriminating about what you purchase, because actually by being discriminating you can do as much for a local food economy as you can by just buying the stuff. But it has to be much more than that. There are a lot of country restaurants in this country now which have exactly the same menu, and at one point during my talk I recited it. It was about, there's a salad, there's a risotto, there's a sea bass dish, a pork belly dish, and then at the end a lemon tart, a creme brulee and a chocolate fondant. Why would I come for that? What is it about that menu that's distinctive? And if you can't work that out, then move on.
Well, for us, We've been open 8 years now, and we've come full circle. We started off with a very locally orientated ingredients. We went off on a bit of a tangent, but now we've come back fully in the last 3 years. We only use ingredients from the county, and we'll stretch to the northwest, but rarely do we go out of that region. So I think it's very important to have that message, because there's so many brilliant artisan producers in this county that can match anywhere in the world, really. The type of food that we do, you have to get absolutely right. First comes getting your product right, and then the location comes into it much later. I think that's why in the last couple of years Longclum's enjoyed increasing success, because our location, not only hopefully have we got a good product, our location has become part of the experience. Coming to the Lake District, coming into Cartmel for the first time, it's quite a magical place, and our building is I couldn't wish for a better building. So our job's almost done, if you like. We just have to feed people then. They're all already in awe of the area. When we are looking at using a lot more British wines, but I think we're trying to reduce our French list now and increase our beers. Beers is a great passion of mine. There's hundreds of beers that we can be using, fantastic beers, and I'm really interested in matching them with top-notch food. So that's something we're really developing on as well.
Well, the thing about beer is that every region has its own beers. Every region's got its own breweries. There are now 800 breweries in Britain in total. There are 28 in the county of Cumbria. And people, when they come on holiday especially, tourists, they don't want the same thing they can get everywhere else. And some pubs offer them, some pubs, bars, restaurants, hotels offer them the same thing they get everywhere else. When they come here, they want the local produce. And so when they're in pubs, when they want to drink, they want local beers. And those beers are there. And so it's just encouraging people to kind of interface with those beers, get into them, start to learn about them, and start to stock them in their establishments. I've just been saying in my talk today that there are Michelin-starred restaurants around the country with over 1,000 wines on their list that stock 3 mainstream industrially produced lager brands. I think any restaurant doing that should be stripped to their Michelin stars. It's quite rare to find a really good restaurant that has a good beer list. But if you think about it, why shouldn't they? If you've got a good wine list, you've got decent bread, you've got decent salt. Beer is something that should be up there, and it's great to hear that more and more restaurants are taking beer seriously. So Longclum sounds like a place I should check out.
It literally tests us to do a back pipe.
The Cottage in the Wood is a restaurant with rooms, and we specialise in local food, we specialise in foraged foods, so it's really using the food which is around us.
And do you feel that you really have to use local food, or would you always pick what's best for a particular dish?
Well, we do pick what's best, but very often that is from Cumbria and very close to where we are. But we're not above using food from Lancashire, from Yorkshire, or from Northumberland, for example. As long as it's northern, that's the thing.
We live in an increasingly congested urban, suburban country, and there aren't many parts of the country now where there still is that link between the land and the farmer and the produce. And we in Cumbria are one of the few places left where we've never been disconnected in that process, and we can offer a very genuine experience where we're absolutely connected and part of the land here, and so is the produce. So I think that is, for people seeking authenticity and food experience, I think that we are able to offer something quite different.